Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Tiffany Travels. We help women travel, build wealth, and live richer. So today I'm really excited that we have Dee from Brown Girls Invest Too. So I'm going to bring her on here. Hey.
Hello, good morning, buen dia. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for being on the show. So start with telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I am Dee Watkins. I am a early retiree. I have a YouTube channel called Brown Girls Invest Too, as well as that's my business as well. What I focus on is helping other Black and Brown women save more, spend less, and grow their money through investing in the stock market. I retired early, so I actually right now am in my home in San Miguel De Allende. I moved here 2 years ago, and so I'm an expat and just out here living my life.
Okay, so tell us, why did you decide on San Miguel de Allende?
Well, it actually wasn't my first choice, meaning when I first came to Mexico, I started in Guadalajara. So I lived in Guadalajara for about, I think I was there about 14 months. And then last December, I have some friends that moved to San Miguel and things were going great for them. So I followed them and came over to check it out.
So what would you say is the difference between Guadalajara and San Miguel de Allende?
All right. So Guadalajara is the second largest city in Mexico. I am from Chicago, so I am accustomed to a large city. So that was my first choice.
Okay.
San Miguel is a big town, right? But it's a big artsy town, and the community here tends to be more stable, meaning they're not as transient as in other cities. It's not a very I'm gonna say it's not very touristy, but I mean that in the beach touristy way, right?
Okay.
There's no beach, but people come here often. And so it's just been a really good community for me to settle down and actually take advantage of some opportunities that come up often here. It's a really good community, by the way.
Good community for expats or like good community for local doing things.
All of the above. So if you are the type of person that needs a lot of things going on, I mentioned it is a big town. Um, but it's a town. So
Okay.
as far as I'm concerned, it's small because of where I come from, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things to do. There's always some type of activity, some type of art exhibit, some type of festivity happening. I'm going to join in on some this weekend, as a matter of fact, and tonight because of Day of the Dead celebration.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
tell us about that in Mexico. It's
Oh my God.
giving.
In other places, Mexico does one thing for sure very, very well. It celebrates its people, whether you are living or dead. It is not a sad celebration at all, right? It is giving offerings to your people that have gone on before you. It is just being joyful about their life and continuing to give them gifts in their afterlife. So it is a wonderful celebration. It's not morbid at all. As a matter of fact, one of the activities, they will take you to the cemetery to celebrate your loved one. I lost my mother in 2021. Yeah, in March of 2021, and I was actually on the way from Guadalajara here, and on just a quick visit, right? And so on my drive in, I actually saw a procession of folks celebrating Day of the Dead and celebrating their loved one. So there, you set up an ofrenda, which is basically an altar for your person that has passed away. They allowed me to join in on their celebration to honor my mother. So it was a really, really good experience.
Yeah, I mean, that is something I like about Mexican culture, and they're very warm, and it's just
Yes.
amazing. So we have a question here. I'm going to put your information in the chat for the people who are listening to us. You have your YouTube channel here, and it's at Brown Girls Invest Too. So
That's
I'm going to
great.
show it there,
Thank you.
also on the chat. And we have a question. Did you research a lot of places before settling on San Miguel? And what was the winning factor for choosing San Miguel? That's my mom. Hi, mom.
Hey, mom. And I got on her about, I told her to thank her mother. Anyway, so listen, I've traveled quite a bit. And so there's some places that are still on my list to visit, right? Some of the places were like Portugal and Costa Rica. I considered Puerto Rico a little bit. I also considered Mexico heavily, but it was, hey, I see some more folks popping in. I'm just saying hello to everyone. So, like I considered those, but Mexico, the draw for me was the proximity. Yes, to Portugal. Yes, proximity to getting back home. Right. I still have property that I manage, so I kind of need to be a little closer just in case something happens. And Mexico checked all the boxes for me. It had the infrastructure, it had the people, the food, the weather. All of those things is what brought me to Mexico in particular, right? So again, I started in Guadalajara. Guadalajara was a good fit for me to begin with, but then I found out that the community was a little more transient than I needed for myself. And I decided to come here because of all of the offerings that it does have that I mentioned earlier. I am not that young, so I'm not in the club. I don't drink, I don't smoke, none of that stuff. So this was a good place for me to land, find the type of people that are like-minded and like-hearted for me. And this was the draw. The community and the people here really is what did it for me.
Okay, so how has your quality of life improved since moving to San Miguel, like versus Chicago?
Oh my goodness. So I'm not going to compare it to Chicago. The reason is I am from Chicago, but I actually still have a home in Atlanta. I live in Atlanta as well.
Okay.
Hopefully, right? So to the United States, I will say that. Um, my quality, I live 2 steps above where I would live anywhere else. And the reason I say that is I have the finances to do what I want, whatever I wanted to do. However, the food, my health is better since being here because of the quality of the food.
Okay.
If you are buying produce here, say you wanted to put a tomato on the counter, if you did that in the States, it's going to sit there and be that same color, a little redder, more red, in 2 to 3 weeks. If you do that here, that's not going to happen. It's going to turn to water. And that's what is supposed to happen with your food.
Yeah.
The food is cleaner for me. The healthcare is cheaper for me. I have people that I communicate with, that I interact with, that are genuine, right? Again, I live in Atlanta, but the people there don't tend to be um, they're not as genuine. Let's just say that. And so here you can meet with the people and share with folks. And it's not about what you can do for them, right? It is always about people trying to take care of you, trying to care for you. So it's always this give and take, right? I love relationships that are equitable, and you find that here. I will say that I am more active here because the weather is better. So, say if I were in Chicago, you basically shut yourself down during certain months because you don't want to be outside in inclement weather.
Right.
Atlanta, because the folks for me are not as they seem. I don't want to go too far into that, but they're not. They haven't been my type of folks, so I didn't really form a very good friend group there. I have a few friends there, but most of my network is really in Chicago.
Mhm.
But all of the things that allow me to meet people, like yeah, yeah, I hang out at the Italian restaurant, not the club, right? Wonder how you know that, huh? You know that. But yeah, so I mean, meeting people like this that come and really are willing to help you, and not, they don't want anything that you have. Everyone here seems to be giving you a push to do the things that you want to do.
Do you find that the people are more into like spending time like lunches, long dinners, and they don't have other things to do, or they're not in a rush. Like in America, I feel like we're in a rush to go somewhere. You have brunch, but it's like you're in a rush to go, or dinner. It's like you got to. Even restaurants, they like push you, like, okay, we need the table. And in Italy, for example, when I go there, they are in no. They don't care if you stay there for hours. They're like have a bottle of wine and live.
So absolutely. I'm going to compare a few things. So let me say this. I don't live in Atlanta proper. I live in the suburbs, right? But in Atlanta proper, as soon as you get in and sit down, they tell you, most places tell you have 90 minutes at that table, right? Here in San Miguel, we literally stay so long in restaurants, talking, laughing, enjoying ourselves. More people will say, where are you guys at? And we say, we're over here. And they come over, right? So now we got to wait on you to eat. Right? Those people do not come and ask you, do you want the bill? None of that. We will stay in a restaurant so long that it is time for the next meal when we're leaving. So I'm not kidding. We have left restaurants and went to another restaurant because we're hungry now and we're going to get something different. I swear to you. Janae she knows for sure. You mentioned Italy. I actually had a funny experience in Italy. I'm not sure which city I was in at the time, but I remember it was my best friend from high school and I. We were, sitting there having a good time, eating and everything. And we had been there a while. So the waiter comes over. He brings us some food and we go, we didn't order this. He says, okay, it's good. So we thought he just wanted us to. That's right. That's all true. We thought he just wanted us to taste it. Well, okay, let's try. Oh, pretty good. Thank you. Thank you. He comes back with 2 more things of different foods. Okay, and puts it down. Sir, we didn't order this. He goes off. He gets some more. I promise you, that man went and got 2 other different dishes, put them down for us, and we said, "Sir, we didn't order this." He said, "It's okay. It was time for siesta."
Mm-hmm.
He said, don't worry about it. He said, there's more food in the back. And when you get done, just put the money on the counter and then leave when you want. And that man left. Not just that man. Everybody in that restaurant left us in the restaurant by ourselves. Promise you. They brought us extra anything just in case we wanted it. Those are the kind of experiences that you have outside of the US. I've never experienced anything like that.
No, you wouldn't. No, you would
Right,
never.
for sure.
No. I love Italy. I love the food there. I love the culture there. Yeah. Okay, how's the Italian food in Mexico?
Janae, we've got one. I'm not going to tell people where we go because they're going to end up there. But we do have a place that we go every Tuesday. We went there yesterday. We love it, right? Food is great. I just want to mention something about Italy. At the time when I went to Italy, I was doing, I had read a book called Wheat Belly, right? And so I had taken myself off of wheat or gluten or something. I think it was wheat. So I'm going to Italy and I was like, wait a minute, I need to be able to eat pasta while I'm there. So I tried the pasta. It put no weight on me while I was away. None. It's different wheat, right? The food here is good. People have told us, we say, we're going to an Italian restaurant. They say, they got Italian there? What?
Yeah.
Don't be stupid. What is wrong with you? Of course, they got all kinds of food here.
Yeah, I did a food tour in Italy, and the tour guide said that they cook it al dente. And so it's not as broken down, it's not as processed. And so there's more fiber. And so it takes the body longer to digest. And that's why they can eat it, because they're not processing it like immediately, like you would here, the pasta.
I didn't consider that. You're right. I hadn't even considered that.
So you feel fuller, and it's like your body is working on it for longer. So what do we have here? In Mexico and Europe, 4-hour lunch is typical. When I get back to the US, I try people's patience because I'm not leaving until you put me out.
Yeah. They will not ask you. You have to ask for the bill. Mm-hmm. And if you're there after closing hours, they will stay there. They're not going to say a word to you. And we've done that. We didn't do it on purpose. We were just talking and enjoying ourselves and realized, oh, we're the only people here. Let's go. Right. but they're
Right.
not going to say anything. They're very good about that.
So, do you still see your friends and family from back home? Because people who are thinking about moving, I think a lot of the hesitation is like their friends and their network and the people that they grew up with and have holidays with. Like,
Yeah.
how do you do that or manage that?
Well, I do that, but I probably do it more than most people. And the reason is because I am checking on, I mean, I still have family there, but I am checking on properties as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I see them, but my friends have also visited me here as well. If you guys are thinking about doing this, the planes go both ways, right?
You're
They
right.
can come visit you. And honestly, that's probably the better thing to do for them to come and see something different. If you've set up shop, you give your people another place to visit, another place to vacation, right? So I will say that sometimes the friend groups that you have now may be different going forward. And they're going to change because some of those people aren't meant to go with you. When I say go with you, I don't mean physically go with you. Some people can't wrap their heads around the fact that you're doing something very different than they would ever consider for themselves. So they will tend to start to pull themselves back. Now, that's not a bad thing because you're going to go to a place where you have people that you have other things in common, things that you're interested in right now, like other countries, like different
Yeah.
foods, like traveling. You're going to meet people like-minded and like-hearted. You will find more friends. Not to say that you're getting rid of your old friends. It's just that dynamics will change. Some people want to stay stuck. And if that's not where you are, you have to move forward. At least that's what I would do.
So, how easy or hard was it to make new friends when you moved to? You said Guadalajara was transient, so it's people going and coming. But San Miguel, I guess they have meetups there in San Miguel de Allende.
All right, so I'm going to start with Guadalajara because I mentioned that it was transient, but that wasn't how it was when I first began. Um, I literally, when I got there I'm sorry, I actually went to Puerto Vallarta first, and I found out that's not for
Ooh,
me.
on the coast. What is on
On
the
the
west
coast,
coast?
it's on the West Coast,
Yeah,
right? I had already traveled to all of the most of the East Coast, Cancun, Cozumel, Tulum, all of that stuff. I had already done that. Too touristy, too hot, right?
yeah.
Then I went to Puerto Vallarta to give that a shot,
Uh-huh.
and that's not for me either, right?
Also very
Again,
touristy, right?
very touristy and very touristy. I'll leave it there. Okay. And so when I went to Guadalajara, which is in the middle of the country, as soon as I got to my Airbnb, I dropped my bags. I literally ran right back out to go meet about, I think it was about 16 to 18 of us for lunch,
Okay.
right? I am it is easy for me to meet people. I'm an outgoing person, very extroverted. But if you are an introvert, same thing. You will not have issues. Before I left, I got into groups that, when I say groups, I mean Facebook groups, right? Of
Mhm.
the place that I will be traveling to. So if you do that, you already have things set up for yourself before you even get there, which is why I literally dropped my bags, jumped in the car, and ran to meet these people at dinner. I didn't know these folks, but some of those people I am still friends with to this day, right? So you will meet the people. Again, you are all in. It's a group of folks that you're kind of in the same boat with. All of you guys have left your home country, right? So you have that in common. You may have when you get there, you'll figure out I'm from Houston, Chicago, Atlanta. So you've got things in common. What did I do for a living? You've got those things in common, right? Why am I in the same city? You have those things in common. You will meet people. People are more open. People are more uh, much more social. I am more social here than I ever was in Atlanta. I can't say that for Chicago because again, I'm born and raised there. But my social calendar, and actually, I'll say this: actually, my social calendar is better than Chicago. But the reason is because I was working when I was in Chicago. I'm not working now,
Yeah.
and Uh, so I couldn't play with people during the day. It's a plenty of people to play with while you're away from your country, right? Because those people have figured out that they can either work from home, work abroad, or they're not working at all. That means you have more opportunity to do the things you enjoy. Go to a museum, go to a theater, go to dinner. We brunch a lot. So, no, it's not difficult at all to make friends at all. Whether you are introverted or extroverted, it will be no issue for you. And the only thing that's going to stop you is yourself. That's it.
Okay. So another thing that people think about when they think about moving is healthcare. So how do you how much does it cost? How do you sign up? How does it work? Do you still have like deductibles? You pay out of pocket when you go? How do
So, this is, it's not difficult for me, but I pay out of pocket, and I swear to you, it was I don't know, was it last week or a couple? Oh, today's anyway. It was either earlier this week or last week. I was talking to someone about possibly getting a healthcare plan here. The reason, oh, I did decide I was going to do it. So I've been paying out of pocket, and the fact that you can pay out of pocket means it's not expensive, right? And I have had, when I first came, I had a torn meniscus, and I still maintain my health care in the U.S. because I don't want to ever lose my benefits, right? However, coming here is where I got my knee fixed, right? I've had an ankle problem where I paid out of pocket. It's not ever been an issue. Literally, you can have the people come to your home. I'm trying to remember. I just talked with two friends that had someone come to their home, give them an IV treatment and all this kind of stuff. And the entire process was more than what you would pay as a, what's the, oh God, what is the fee you pay? The copay, yes.
Yeah.
It was more, it was less than the copay, right? I have another buddy that needs to have a procedure done with her foot. She asked the doctor how much would the surgery cost. The surgery nurses, doctors, he gave her the fee. The fee was $3,000. Now, 3,000 US dollars. Oh, that's a lot of money. Well, guess what? It's 45,000. I'm not kidding. It's a $45,000 surgery in the US. You can pay for your healthcare out of pocket, period. And if you think, oh, it's Mexico is not as good, come on. Don't believe that. Sometimes they have some of the same equipment, and they have better equipment than the U.S. does. I remember, what was it? I took an X-ray or MRI? I've had an X-ray and MRI here, and I'm trying to remember what machine it was. Had to be the X-ray machine. The X-ray machine goes from vertical to horizontal for your X-rays. And it's not this, those little things they put on the X-ray to tell you if it's left or right.
Yeah.
They don't do that. They don't have to. Right? The machine was more advanced than the one that they have in Atlanta.
You wouldn't think it. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Cheaper and with one other thing with medicines. Yeah. You don't need I'm going to say it. You don't need prescriptions here for most things, unless it's some kind of psychotropic or something like that. But you can just go and tell them what you need and they'll give it to you, right? And it is cheaper. Sometimes when I travel back and forth, I'm taking people's, like say, medicine for the diabetes home for them because if I remember correctly, their medicine was $3,400, but if I buy it here, I'm paying like maybe $400 or $500, maybe. That's the way.
And they were paying out of pocket in the States.
No, that was with their. Well, yeah, they're paying out of pocket, but that was their portion that it would cost them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. My mom wants to know here. Did you transfer with your job, or is it pretty easy getting a job?
Okay, Mom, I'm gonna need you to stop cussing at me. I don't have a job. I have not worked in almost 6 years. I retired in January of 2021. This coming January, 2021. That's not right. Anyway, in January, I would have been, I have not worked in 6 years. I'm retired.
So then that brings us to our next set of questions, which have more to do about the cost of living there. So how much is housing in San Miguel de Allende? Like apartments and then internet. Is it
I'm
high?
sorry. Can we get Janae first? You don't need doctor's orders for labs either, right? You can run your own. Yes, you can go and get your own blood work. And let me mention blood work, by the way. Y'all gonna get me upset up in here. I've traveled pretty regularly. So where did I start? I'll just say in the U.S., I'm going to just tell you a little bit of my health history. In the U.S., they said I was pre-diabetic. Once I came here, ran blood work, I'm not pre-diabetic at all. And the numbers from Mexico match the numbers in Europe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The range is different. So in the US, because they make their range wider, they're able to put you on more medicine as you being pre-diabetic. I'm not pre-diabetic. And by the way, since then, my numbers have gone, I'm speaking of my blood sugar levels now. My numbers have gone down. I'm nowhere near pre-diabetic now because of the food and because of me walking. That's it. Yes, you can go and order a full panel of blood work on yourself without doctor's orders. All you have to do is go in there. There's a menu. I want that. And
Oh
just
wow,
test yourself. Yeah, you can do that.
that's like unheard of.
I'm going to just say one other thing I want to mention something about my torn meniscus. This was when I was in Guadalajara. I went to the second best hospital in Guadalajara, and I just so happened to be near the place, and I just wanted to walk in there. Yeah. I just wanted to walk in there to see if they could tell me how much it would cost for a specialist, orthopedic specialist to look at my knee. I just went to find out how much it would be for the visit. I went in there. They said, I can't remember. It was something ridiculous, like $50 or $60. They said, you can come tomorrow at 12. What do you mean? They said, I can't get you in today. You could come tomorrow. It wasn't, you have to wait till December or January to see a specialist. Bring your butt here tomorrow. We'll check you out. And it was $50 or $60. All right. Now, that's more on healthcare. Now, you had another question.
So with the lab work, can the doctors draw blood in Mexico? Because here in Florida, the doctors don't draw blood. You have to go to a separate building, a separate place to draw. You have to go to a lab.
All right. So you're saying doctor, but it's not the doctor that's going to do it either here, if I'm not mistaken. So there are places like Chopo, CHOPO. God, I can't remember. There's like 2 or 3 other labs. There are 3 labs in particular. I just can't remember all of their names. You can walk in there and they will do a blood draw. Right now, I go to a clinic, not a hospital. I go to a clinic that takes care of quite a lot of expats here, right? And the doctors are upstairs, but you go downstairs for the labs and the pharmacy, x-ray. Everything's in the same building. The doctor's not going to draw your blood. It will be a lab within the clinic or hospital or a freestanding lab.
Okay. So we'll get back to the housing expenses since you don't have a job.
I'm out of work, y'all. Could you give me a little change? I'm just kidding. Housing expenses. So this is I want to be clear. I don't want people always say, "Oh, it's very cheap, 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 cheap." Yeah, you can come here and live cheap if you want to, but you better decide how you want to live, right? I am. This is actually funny because I'm after this call. I'm actually going to meet with someone about another place for me, uh, and I'm going to give you in Guadalajara, 18,000. In Guadalajara, my rent was 18,000 pesos. 1 second, and I'm going to just keep talking here, and that was for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 8th floor, high rise apartment. Very nice, very new um, apartment, right? So here I pay 15,000 pesos. And all right, so if I was in Guadalajara, my rent right now would be $898. And by and I mentioned 2 bedroom, 2 bath, big kitchen, nice living space, beautiful view. Here, my current rent, I think, and so I have to do this because the exchange rate, will change. So just because I tell you what my rent is today, that's not going to be my rent tomorrow. That's just how it is. My rent currently is $748, right? And it has been as low as $721. So I think it's ranged from 721 to at the height, I think I was paying 837, right? So again, this is for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. I'm in a gated community. There are 3 pools out there. There's a workout room. There's tennis. There's a pickleball. Big old community center. Beautifully landscaped. I've got a patio. This is how you can live. Now, this is my place. Some of my friends are in homes, which I am about to probably move to a home soon because I think I need more room. I've got 2 little dogs and I need more space. You can get a home, and I'm not telling you this to come run down here thinking this is what it will be. You can get a home. It'll be further out for like $400, 3 bedroom. What are those? One is 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So it's going to be a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath, right? Gated community, but you can do that at $400, $500. Now, I have friends on the other end that are paying. I think we figured out yesterday it was $1,200. 1,000. Go. Oh no, it's not. So like $1,500. But now their home now, big and beautiful. I will say that. Their home now is $1,500. However, that same apartment could probably go up to say $1,700. I don't want to pay that much money. Only because I don't think for me, it's not necessary. I can live in a wonderful gated community, nice place for $700 to $800. If I wanted to go on the high end, maybe 1,000, but that all depends on how you want to live. And that's just rent, right? So most places you'll have to pay your light, your gas, your water, light, gas, water. Yeah. Sometimes you have to pay a maintenance fee, but most places will include the maintenance. But I'm sorry, light, gas, water, phone, right, for yourself. Those light, gas, water can range, say you pay no more than internet. I'm sorry. All of that will be like $100, less than $100, I think.
Combined.
Yep. Again, I mentioned at the top that I am living 2 steps above where I would even bother to try and live in Atlanta or in Chicago.
And how often do you eat out?
Well, we were out last night. Okay, let me start over. We met for brunch, and then we met for dinner, and then tonight I'm going to dinner. We eat out like
every day.
I don't know, maybe 4 times a week or 5 or something. I don't know, 4 or 5. 4. Let's do that. And they don't all have to be big meals. Today, when I say big, I mean expensive meals. Quit saying every day. It's not every day. It's every other day. But there are some people here that don't like to cook. I don't mind cooking. Or you could just and eating out could mean going to get tacos, or it could mean going to a nice sit down restaurant, so it's no big deal. But again, it's not expensive, so it's cool. You're saving on one end to be able to enjoy on the other end.
Right. Okay. So you would say like your total expenses, including food, housing, internet, is 1,200 or less a month?
Yes. Easy. Yeah.
What about transportation? So you use Uber, or is everything walkable?
All right. So I keep giving you different scenarios because I ain't walking here. I'm not doing it. I drove here. I have my car here. Right.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So I'll have to give you what the other folks do. So there is the La Ruta. There's the bus, right? Which I've ridden twice. No big deal. And people will Uber or take taxis, and they do a lot of walking, right? So they will make sure that they're in a city or town that is walkable, right? Which is another thing. Again, you're building in things that are going to help you. So if you're walking, one, you're saving money. Two, you're building your health, right? You're losing weight. All of those things are beneficial to you. I'm not going to do that. I got 2 dogs. So, I did enough walking in my day. I'm done walking and running. So
Janae,
I do want to mention one thing though. I told you I have my car here. The gas here is real gas, meaning it doesn't have all these what do you call those? Additives. In the US, you can pump your own gas. You cannot pump your own gas in Mexico. It is real gas. Okay. It is a much stronger smell, and it burns much hotter and longer. So I will fill up my tank. I filled it up yesterday. I will not have I probably won't have to fill up my tank again for about 3 weeks or a month. That's a lie. 3 weeks. I'll say that.
That's a long time. I also want to put in here your website. So what can they find there?
Well, I have offerings for people. I do financial coaching, right? So you can book some time with me if you're not familiar with investing, if you need some help with your portfolio. I will do consultations with people to help them build their wealth that way. I have products like ebooks that I sell there and some merchandise, and I will be starting a group coaching class very soon. So those type things are there. I have some of my latest videos from my YouTube channel are there, but it's really a way to reach out to me to book some time with me.
Okay. And so Janae says in FIRE, which is financial independence, retirement early, in case anybody doesn't know. How do you manage fluctuating costs in your overall planning?
I'm not sure how to answer this because I don't I don't really budget stuff. If that's what you're asking. You're saying manage fluctuating costs. It can fluctuate. I don't care. It goes up or down. What is the cost? I pay it. I'm done. So I don't plan like that and I'm not being a jerk. I don't have to.
Yes. So the costs are so much lower than what you have available to spend. You don't manage it to that degree of detail. Right? That's what I was trying to say. She ain't got no budget.
My answer. Now, I'm not suggesting that for other people. Now, okay, I'm glad you said that because that's my situation. That's my situation. Your situation may be very different. When I say I'm not meaning either of you two. I'm meaning anyone that just so happens to be watching this. people need to consider people need to have a budget, because the interest I'm not interest rates, I'm sorry, the uh what do you call it, conversion rates, the what do you call it when you
Exchange.
the exchange, right? The exchange rates for money changes, right?
Okay.
So sometimes the dollar is stronger, or I don't know where your audience mostly is. It could be the dollar, it could be the pound, whatever. Sometimes it is stronger and sometimes it is weaker against the peso, right? So if that's the case, you can't say, all right, my rent is supposed to be $750, so I'm going to budget for $750. You cannot do that, because since I've been here, I mentioned I've been here it's been over 2 years now. At one point, the dollar was 21 to 1, right? Meaning $1 was 21 peso, and it has been as low as $1 was 16 peso. So when the dollar is weaker, your rent is going to go up. Not just your rent, everything you do is going to go up. So you need to build into your budget some cushion, so that you don't come here thinking I have enough money and then find out you do not, right? So people need to take that into consideration when they are considering going to whatever country they decide to go to.
Okay, so you built your wealth by investing in the stock market and the real estate market. So how did you manage being a landlord, things like abandonment, things like late payment, things like maintenance on a property, or repairs like roof repairs, or just general maintenance like appliances? How did you handle all of that?
Uh,
I mean, you still do it. So how do you even do it now remotely?
okay, so I hear a bunch of different questions in that one thing you said, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing you said was abandonment. I had
You
no
never had
abandonment.
a property abandoned, tenant just gets
Absolutely
up.
not.
I've had it
Absolutely.
happen. I
Look,
knock on the door and it was open. I walk in and they had left, which is
mm-mm.
the best thing they could have done because it was COVID. So technically they could have stayed and
Yeah,
not paid
and you
for
would have been stuck paying your
it.
mortgage while they're in there. So
Right.
I've owned property for 28 years, right? And so, yeah. So some of the things you mentioned, I'm going to start from my earlier years and the reason I'm saying my earlier years is because I didn't have as much money then, right? But the way I started is I bought multi-tenant units. My very Actually, I'm going to tell you, got my first apartment when I was 24, across the street from my mama, right?
Mhm.
And then I was living in Chicago, which in something called a two flat, right? So there are two different kinds of two flats. So in this type of two flat, it is a first floor and a second floor unit, right? I had the first floor unit. My landlord had the second floor unit. There's a problem with owning like that. All right. So it was in a very nice neighborhood and the prices were starting to go up. And this is when I figured out I don't like paying rent, because I like Hector, but Hector came to me every month saying, give me my money. And I'm like, dude, you back? Um, Hector was about to sell his property. And so I considered buying it, but I didn't know anything about it. And I didn't think I could afford it. And I'm actually glad I did not buy that property, because what I did is I rented for 1 year. It was my first apartment ever. And when he told me he was going to sell the property, I said, well, I don't think I can afford this one. Let me go get something else. So I went to a neighboring neighborhood that was up and coming,
Mhm.
right? So it was not as nice of a neighborhood, a little bit sketchy. However, it was in the process of starting to gentrify. So I bought myself a two flat, but I bought a different type. I bought the kind that has a basement apartment, first floor and second floor, meaning I've got two rents coming in, paying my mortgage
Right.
while I'm living rent free, right? So um, I think somewhere in your question was somewhere how I manage things. Now, I was a technician for AT&T, so I was accustomed to working with hand tools. And because I would go into properties that were newer builds and older builds, when I got there, there were other trades there, other tradespeople. So I may show up and the plumber is there. doing a full rehab, or the electrician is there. So because I know how to work with hand tools, and I am showing up to places where they've got the walls open and I'm watching them do the work. Well, okay, that's what you got. Okay, I can do that. All right, cool. But not only am I looking at how things are done, I'm working with a ton of men.
Mhm.
And chicken, pizza, and beer will buy you a lot of labor. Okay.
Mhm.
So what we did is we just kind of helped each other. I bought a place. I got chicken and beer. They're coming over to help me do whatever it is I need to have done in that place. So I can remember going into one place and I saw, I'm sorry, my property I don't remember. Anyway, the place was built in 1896. So I got an older brick home
Mhm.
and my windows were horrible. So I went into this place while I'm working and I'm watching the guy put in windows and I said, that's all you got to do? He said, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I could do that. So he said, listen, you get the measurements, you order the window, you throw it in there, you're done. Now you caulk it and do a few other things, but for the most part, that was it.
Right.
In the beginning, I put my own windows in. I'm sorry, only for the front of my property. Okay.
Okay.
And so after that, I mean, I just kind of learned different things to take care of my property myself. So I had a lot of sweat equity, right? Until it got to a point where I said, well, I don't know how to do all of this stuff. And it takes me longer to do it. So I just will go earn more money. I'll earn the money. And then because I am going into properties where I am meeting the tradespeople, can I have your number? And they said, well, here's the number to the company. I don't want the number to the company. I want your number. The reason I want your number is you are doing the work. You busy Saturday? If you're not busy Saturday, come do the same work over at my place. So that's how I was able to save quite a lot of money on getting good work done to my property because I had met the people doing the actual labor. So I told you I own two. I'm trying to address different parts of your question. I hope I am. So you mentioned abandonment, late payments, something else. I forget some other stuff.
Maintenance, but it sounds like you got maintenance issues, but it sounds like you got them from people that you met at work.
Right. And I hear people often want to go into real estate and they want to do it right. I'm sorry, to do it with less stress, they will hire a property manager. I didn't do that because I lived on my property to begin with. I
Right.
had the guys to help me do the work. I knew how to do the work. I met the people doing the work, right? So that's my maintenance. That's part of the reason I never hired a maintenance a property manager. That was my first property. Okay. You mentioned late payments. So in that first property, they have something now they call house hacking. Uh, house hacking. Well, that's what I was doing, but they didn't call it house hacking then. They just did it. My first property was a 2-flat with 3 units. My next property was a 2-flat with 3 units. Okay. So in the second property, I bought that one. I owned that one for 18 years or 19 years or something like that. When I bought that property, the tenant on the first floor, I inherited that tenant.
Mm-hmm.
I let that tenant stay right where they were because they were the stability of that building for me. Do you need this? Okay. Or they were my eyes and ears. Chicago, Chicago has some bad neighborhoods. That was in one of the worst neighborhoods in Chicago. And by the way, that was a Section 8 tenant. And that Section 8 tenant took care of my property. Right. So when people say, "Oh, don't rent to them," you got to remember, at least for me, my experience has been that those people have a voucher where someone is either paying their rent or helping them to pay their rent. They don't want to lose that voucher. Those people are good people. They
Right.
might not have the money to do things as you would, but they're going to take care of their property. I mean, they're going to try and maintain their voucher. I'll say that. So that woman, from the time I bought that building to the time I sold that building, she stayed in that apartment. That's how long I've had tenants, right? And I've had long-term tenants. I've had 13-year, 18-year. I think he was about 16-year tenants. All right. You pick good people. That's what you do. I hate to say it, but in the property that I'm mentioning with this woman that was there,
Mm-hmm.
that tenant on the second floor is what made me decide, it's 2024, 2 years ago, I sold that building because of that second floor tenant when I decided I'm done with this. I'm not kidding. I swear to you. But I've not had abandonment, people late pay. That's not true. I have had late pay. I've had my tenants pay me every 2 weeks. I've had them pay me $50 here. I don't care because I got paid ultimately, right? But I also had the built-in margins where if this tenant on the second floor doesn't pay me, it's fine because my building is being paid for by one tenant in the entire building,
Right.
right? And my mortgage is being covered. I'm not paying anything out of my pocket, right? And when I say they're not paying me, I'm not saying they're not paying me at all. I've literally had tenants where they lost their job or something happened where they owe me 2-3 months rent. I don't care because they've been my tenant long enough to know that they're going to pay me ultimately. And they did. And I wasn't hard pressed for the money because the building is being covered by other rents coming in. Did I hit every part of that question or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you still, so you sold that building, but do you still own multi-unit properties, or like the one in Atlanta, is that single family?
That's my primary. And so the ones that are rentals are in Chicago, right? I do not have any more multi-tenant units. I only have homes left. But I am, again, I didn't say this, but I am selling off my properties. I will sell another one next year. And I have one that I am going to keep until my 81-year-old tenant no longer needs it.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
So they contribute, your multifamily or your single families in Chicago contribute to your lifestyle in now here in San Miguel.
Yes.
That's how you're able to retire. Okay.
I should mention to folks, if I see people, I'm going to buy a condo, I'm going to buy a house, and I'm going to rent it out. That's not a great idea. Only because if something happens with that tenant, if they either decide they're not going to pay you, if they lose their job, whatever happens, you're dependent on that one rent. It is better to have multi-units within one property so that all of those rents somewhere in there covers the mortgage and leaves you enough margin where you don't care if someone is not paying you.
And you don't feel it.
You don't feel it. Not that you don't care. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you also invested in the stock market throughout your career? So which one has been more helpful, and which one, like real estate versus the stock market, more helpful, and did you prefer, or did it change, with your lifestyle?
I don't understand the helpful part. What do you mean?
In terms of returns.
Return? Oh God. I don't know. Well, I am going to say real estate, but that is only because I've had. I don't know that that's true. I would have to break it out per year, but in terms of, I'm thinking about one property. I had one of my properties for, I forgot, 26 years. I had it for 26 years. And the return you're getting on it, if I decided to hold it for that long, you don't get that return until 26 years. You're getting some over time and tax breaks. You're getting some and it paying for other things. But I don't know that I would wait that long for the actual return where you could figure out the actual return. I had properties that were in gentrifying neighborhoods, so I was able to buy it pretty cheap and sell that joker for a decent piece of change. However, it's not liquid,
Hmm.
right? So I would say over because of the properties that I've had, I would say that real estate has given me my most wealth,
Hmm.
right? Um, and real estate actually helped me build in the stock market because my money wasn't going toward those properties, so I could dump it into the stock market.
Okay. And then, did you always have this idea in mind of retiring early and moving abroad?
Retiring early, yes. Never moving abroad. That was I never even considered it. I don't know why. I didn't have anybody modeling that for me. So retiring early was always going to be a thing for me. I got helped. I was actually supposed to retire prior to becoming 50, but I got a little push from my company that let me do it a little sooner than that. Um, I'm sorry, the moving abroad. I always knew that I enjoyed traveling. I traveled often, but I never considered it a thing for myself until I'm going to say, I remember it was in Spain where it was first became, oh, maybe I could do that. I would always travel, and when I don't know if you've ever experienced this, if you go to other countries and they say, "Well, how long are you on holiday?" I'm on vacation, right?
Yeah.
They say, "How long are you on holiday?" And they say, 2 weeks or a week." Very proud, right? And
Yeah.
they say, "No, no, no, no. We mean how long are you on holiday? Not here." I'm like, "That's what I meant." Those people vacation go on holiday for 3 months, 6 months at a time, a month, right? And here in the US, you're begging your job or trying to figure out where you can get a week off or a long weekend, right? And
Mhm.
so when I went to Italy and went to Spain and I started feeling like a dummy when those folks are like, "Oh, okay, I'm just here for 9 days," right?
Right.
And then when I start to meet other people that said, "I moved here," and they say, "You should consider it." And I went, "Oh, well, I didn't even know that was an option because I didn't have anyone around me that was doing something like that." And when that thought was brought to me, when that idea was put in my head, then I started doing a little research and I actually found Stephanie Perry. If any of you guys are familiar with the Exodus Summit, this woman is someone that teaches people how to do house sits and travel abroad, right? But she also has now partnered with another woman named Rashida Dow that they built the Exodus Summit, which encourages Black women to either go on a sabbatical, move abroad, and do the things that you want to do for yourself. Once I saw that this was a thing, this was something that people that looked like me were doing, and they're brunching and having a good time and living parts of their life that they never even dreamed would happen for them. That's when it really became clear that's something I could do for myself. So once I retired early, um, I have to go back to it again. If I were in Chicago, then I had the friend groups that I could go do things with. But those friend groups were at work when I could go out and play. I retired in Atlanta, and by that time I retired as an engineer, so I would not socialize with the people that I retired with, right? Those folks are mostly going to be older white men. I'm not going to, I don't have that much in common with them. I'll say that. And so that's not going to be and they're much older than me. I retired early. These people are retiring in their 70s and 80s. That's not going to be my friend group. They got time to play, but I ain't going to play with them. Okay. So then when I found out it was people, younger folks in different countries, Portugal, Mexico, Costa Rica, all these different places, Ghana, whatever. Uh, I said, well, shoot, I got the time, I got the money. Let me go see what it's about. And that's what kind of led me to figure out I could actually do this.
Okay, so we're gonna be wrapping up. So if anyone has any questions for Dee, any last minute thoughts, you can put them in the chat. And it has been a great conversation. Thank you for talking with us about
Thank
your
you. Thank you.
journey on fire and your journey in San Miguel de Allende. This has been a lot to learn, and I'm glad that we're bringing awareness to this issue. Not issue, but to this idea of
Idea, this option, this
yeah,
opportunity. Yeah.
yeah, this opportunity. Exactly. Okay, well, thank you. And I'm going to be on your show next week. So
Yes, absolutely.
or here you can see us talk again or part two.
So come back, come with your questions because we're gonna get at her next. And thank you, Tiffany. This has been great. I really appreciate it. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Bye.
Bye bye. Have a great one. Okay.
You too.